improvising over an old standard like Sweet Georgia Brown. Let's talk about improvising. Okay, improvising, you're using licks that you know, ideas that you know. You're kind of playing with those ideas, and you are playing one lick after another over the changes that the song is. Sweet Georgia Brown, 6-2-5-1. Okay, we're in the key of G, so it starts on the E chord. It's a great swing tune to jam over. And it's a good one to learn on 6 chord, then 2 chord. Okay, so what ideas are we going to use? Well, the first thing is to play licks over that chord. Licks that you know will work in E. Those are going to be based around the E scale. Joe Pass would often talk about the caged system. If you are familiar with that, I know most people are familiar with it. Just if you're not familiar, C, A, G, E, D. These chord shapes, C, we move that up a fret and we have a capo. Then we go to C sharp, we go to D. But these are all basically, this is just a C that we're moving up. This is an A that we're moving up. That's the A of caged, B flat, B, C. The caged system, you can look that up anywhere, but it's basically a system of shapes. Those shapes have associated scales. Here's a B chord. That's the scale and the scale pattern, the major scale pattern with the fingering that is associated with that B chord. But basically we have that E shape. And that's the basis of the cage system. Here's the C chord right here. We're actually playing the chord of D, but the C chord is where the shape comes from. We just move it up, and we move it up to E. Again, still playing that C chord shape. Well, it's totally a guitar-driven thing. It doesn't work on any other instrument. The caged system is a guitar system. It's a way to think. So now we've got a set of chord shapes and the scale patterns associated. Now we need licks that we can associate with those scale patterns, with those chords. Where do we get our licks from? Well, we can make them up. We can borrow, beg, and steal from other people. Let's figure one out right here. Okay, there's a Borelli Legrand lick right there from Cherokee. Thank you to Dennis Chang and his School of Music. We'll just figure out how to learn. That's the basis of what we're doing here. We're figuring out how to learn this. Okay, those are the licks. How do you figure that out? Well, you have to listen. You have to listen real closely. Don't go any further than that. You've got to get the first note. Well, how do you know what the note is? Well, you can hunt and peck. That's the first note. You have to know what the note is in your head first, and then match it to the guitar. Match the note that you're playing to the note that's in your head. You have to do that one note at a time. If you have to, when you're starting out, that's what it takes a lot of the time. But then you start to recognize patterns, and you'll learn more quickly the more you learn. So don't think that you're taking way too much time. If you spend half an hour on 3 or 4 notes because you can't quite figure out what they are, you're building a foundation. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. I know you might watch people learning very quickly. It seems like they're learning very quickly because they're playing something back straight away. but the learning was done previously. They're not really learning anything new. They're learning a new way to use what they already know. So how do we apply this to a song? We've got this one lick that we just worked out. Okay, how do we apply that to Sweet Georgia Brown? Well, let's have a look. Well, we just threw that lick in there. It goes to the A. But we just transcribed it. We transposed it down a step. We used the exact same lick. You don't have to use that exact same lick. You can play with it a little bit, and that's down to you to experiment. But that's the first step. Do that with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different licks. Eventually you'll start learning how to throw them in when you hear it. We can use that lick now that we've learned over this E shape over B flat. The chord is B flat. The shape, the caged system shape, is E, and we've just used it. Okay, but we moved it down a step. So we now can use that lick over any chord that uses this E shape. There's the E and it goes all the way up the top. We can use it over all 12 chords.